Morning.
Morning, Richard.
Morning, Paul. How are you today?
I've been a little bit chilly this morning.
Well, it is cool.
Yes.
There's no sign of spring in the air today. It's grey, cold, but more about that later, coming up on Richard and Paul's
Weather report.
Sunday chat.
Sunday chat.
Doesn't bode well.
Shush now, Paul.
The portents are not good. So yes, bloody welcome to the show, which is called, as you just
Sunday chat.
Yes, our weekly show, our weekly magazine show where we talk about the week and what we've been doing.
And other rubbish.
Or not.
Yeah.
Because some weeks are thin.
Yeah.
Some weeks are thick.
Yeah. Some weeks I feel thinner, and some weeks I feel thicker.
I sort of meant thickly packed with things.
Yeah, no, I know
Sometimes
what you
events are
meant.
thin on the ground.
Yeah.
But it's been a busy week this week.
So not thin on the ground this week.
Well, I feel it's been busy. I feel I have personally, for me, been quite busy.
You've done about 2 hours work,
For
haven't
me.
you? Yeah.
For me. Personally. Anyway, let's get on with the show and stop waffling
People do
on.
say that, don't they? They say, well,
personally.
you know, I think, personally,
Well, yeah.
it's like, well, you don't need to use both of those.
Are you thinking for somebody else?
Yeah, well, sometimes we
Some
need to,
people
don't we?
do,
Yeah.
don't they, Paul? So welcome, bloody welcome. And I just want to say a thank you to all of you gorgeous people out there for following us, for watching. We do appreciate it. Thank you to our supporters on our Ko-fi page who support us by buying us a coffee. Apparently it's Ko-fi.
No, I know it is, but it's coffee. I mean, that's the sensible thing. Yeah.
So thank you from the bottom of our bottoms. So let's get on with Richard and Paul's weather report. Paul, Paul. What has the weather been like this week?
Changeable.
Changeable.
Very. So on Tuesday night, overnight to Wednesday morning, we had lots of rain, and Wednesday continued. It was forecast, and I was glad that I got the nematodes down, the Nemanites nematodes down at the plot, which you'll see in a week at the plot when I upload that. Because all of that rain will have dissolved those pellets that look like slug eggs, I have to say. Why you'd make a product that gets rid of slugs look like slug pellets, I don't know. But anyway...
Slug eggs, you said?
Slug eggs, they look
You
like
just
slug
said slug
eggs.
pellets.
No, why you would make the pellets of nematode to look like slug eggs when they're supposed to get rid of slugs,
You
I'm not
said
sure.
look like slug pellets.
Right, okay, I got that wrong. Yeah, slug eggs.
I was just
Thank
confused.
You. Oh, were you confused, baby?
I
Can
was
you go on?
confused.
Oh, come on! Oh. Yeah, anyway.
Well, I just wanted clarity, that's all.
Well, if you want clarity, you can watch A Week at the Plot, which comes out on Monday.
Oh, good. So the nematodes are killer creatures.
Well, no, they're naturally in the soil, but this just boosts the numbers of them in the soil.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And then it sort of has been warm during the afternoons, pretty overcast, though, during the mornings, like now.
Yeah.
But next week is supposed to heat up. Mini heat wave, they're saying. Yeah, you'll be the judge of that.
I'll be the judge of that. Well, this house is a mini heat wave. If you go to the top of the house on a sunny day, it's a mini heat wave up there.
Yeah.
You come down, it's like there's air conditioning.
It's much, much cooler down here. Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah.
There's a good sort of like 4 or 5 degrees difference between the top of the house and down here. And on a really sunny day, it can be. I mean, like when we were having 40 degrees upstairs a few years ago, it was about 30 degrees down here. So quite a difference. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so there we are. That's the weather. It's been changeable. It's been pretty good growing weather, actually. Apart from at night time, it's still been slipping down to 5 or 6 degrees at some points, which, you know, when you've got seeds germinating, they don't really like that.
Well, no, because my peace lily seeds are not doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's been about a month.
Right. Do you know how long they take to germinate?
Well, it said 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, a month is 4 weeks.
Well, I know, but I was expecting them sooner.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, we sow something and then look at it 20 minutes later to see if they've germinated.
Well,
So,
they're clearly not doing very well. A little bit like the video. Anyway. No, I'm not posting it here. Nobody wants to watch them. Anyway. So yes, weather. It really hasn't kicked into spring yet. Really.
No.
And if next week is going to be a little mini heat wave, we need to take advantage of it. I've said for many years, when the weather's good in spring, something it will bring. I don't know. That's not what I was going to say. It wasn't a rhyme.
Well, that's what it looked as though it was going to be.
When the weather's good in spring, always take advantage of it.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. That
Because
doesn't
very
rhyme.
often the summer turns out to be absolute shite.
I think the summer's going to be a pretty standard British summer. A bit hotter,
Yeah.
of course, a bit hotter than normal because we've got climate change anyway, so it'll be a bit warmer. But I think it'll be wet.
Will it?
Yeah, downpours. Not constant, but regular.
That's the thing about living in the UK. I mean, you just got to get used to the fact that the weather is highly unpredictable. You just can't, you just don't know. So I don't know what you're basing that on, Ball.
I'm basing it on years and years of experience and absolutely nothing factual at all.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
I got an itchy nostril
Well,
this
it's
morning.
all that pollution and pollen. No, it is. I think it's, I don't know, the air at the moment with the work going on around.
Yeah.
I think there's things in the atmosphere. There was a weird smell in the house the other day.
Yeah, I
For the
couldn't
second
smell
time.
it.
You couldn't. I felt as though it was like I'd been decorating a room.
What did you say? It was
It
like
was
turps
a
or something.
solventy
Yeah.
smell coming from somewhere. I don't know where from. Oh, it was rather perturbing.
Have you had a bath for a while?
Well, I had a lovely strip wash the other day, so it wasn't emanating from me, and why would it smell like a solvent?
Don't know.
It would smell nice, like soap.
Alright.
Soap and eau de toilette. Anyway, so, yeah, lovely.
You got a list today.
I have got a list. I've got a list. So yesterday we got out and about for our little hike in the Bluebell wood. Yeah.
Because of course today is Saturday, so this
Yeah.
was Friday.
So we had our hike in the Bluebell wood and managed to see the beautiful bluebell carpet in the beautiful magical Bluebell wood.
Again, when we got up there, well, when we left here, it was really sort of quite sunny. By the time we got onto the A40 to get up there, it had become a bit overcast.
It was. We had to wait for the sun to appear.
We did a first wander of the woods and you took photos, but then when we were coming back and after we'd had our snack on the bench, the sun then came out, so we went back and you took a whole load of photos again,
Well,
didn't
I
you?
did predict that the sun was going to reappear.
Yeah.
So we had another walk around. So we actually did it sort of 3 times, which was really good. But I felt it in my thighs.
Yeah, I didn't feel it in my
I
thighs.
did. Well, no.
I did. We were in an area where there was an awful lot of birdsong. It's really quite funny because when you go into Aston Rowan Wood, you hear the occasional bit of birdsong, but then when we got to another area of Aston Rowan, there was a whole lot of bird chatter going on. I mean, it was really, voracious bird chatter. And I thought, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my Merlin app open on my phone and do a recording. And it really is an amazing app, and it's free. Merlin Birdsong app or something. And it listens, you record it and it listens, and in real time it tells you what birds are chattering. And it's really quite fascinating because you get a whole list. I think one recording there was about 7 birds on the list, and then they light up when the app can hear them. It's fabulous.
I don't think it's commonly known as bird chattering, Paul, is it?
Well, no,
it's called singing.
It's bird song. Yeah, they're song. Well, some of them are songbirds, some aren't. No, so they're not.
Which ones aren't then?
Well, not all of them are songbirds. Sometimes they just chatter, and tweet.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, always hear it here first. Yeah. So yeah, do have a look at that app if you're into listening to birdsong or trying to know which birds are about.
Lovely, Paul. Thank you so much.
It's quite all right, Richard.
Lovely, lovely. Who doesn't like a bit of bird song?
I now know what a wren sounds like.
What does it sound like? Go on.
It sounds like a wren.
What does it sound like?
I can't do it. I'm not very good at doing wrens and bird song and things, so no.
Okay. So, in the news this week, I've got a few things I want to discuss.
Have you?
Some of them may be controversial.
Really?
Well, the Pope died.
Yeah,
The Pope died.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have a problem with that. Die away. I mean, do what you will.
It's been a bit overboard though, hasn't it?
Yeah, in a couple of ways. So apparently the Pope decreed that he didn't want too much of a fuss.
Oh, well, the media's gone against that, as often media does. Yeah.
He said he wanted to cut down the amount of pomp and ceremony. Could have fooled me. Really? It looks like a lot of pomp and ceremony to me.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, what he could have said was, I don't want to have a state funeral in the same tradition, because it clearly costs too much. I mean, clearly. And, I mean, look at the number of people that went there. You could just watch it on TV, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, there must be a whole industry supporting those people who are visiting. So lots of people are making lots of money out of the Pope's death, which I find really weird.
Including, of course, the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up and did religious education, there was that story about the moneylenders and the people making money and all of that, and Jesus didn't like it, and blah, blah, blah.
Well, you come back to lunatics have taken over the asylum with that, don't you?
But, so it kind of doesn't sit with me that there's a whole industry making loads of money out of the situation. It doesn't sit with me very well. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned, but, there's that thing. And the other thing that kind of gets me is you switch on the TV and a week later, the BBC are still banging on about it.
Yeah. Well, it's because of the funeral which is happening today, isn't
know.
it? So they kept it at the top of the news item for the whole week, which is fine. I mean, I'm not sure whether it was good timing or not. Wouldn't it be fabulous if he actually died a few days earlier on Easter Friday? That would have really caused confusion for a few days.
Well, it would have caused even more confusion if he'd suddenly risen out of the coffin.
On Easter Sunday, yeah.
I mean, if you want a miracle, just do it.
Yeah.
So I find all of that very, very odd. It's totally overboard. Look,
But it's interesting though, because I mean, when I hear that people that I like, celebrities and things have died, there's that's sad, isn't it? So I suppose for some people it's a bit like that, isn't it? He's their celebrity and
well, I was
their
just
leader
going on
of
to
the
say,
church and things.
I was just going on to say, I have no problem with people mourning. That's fine. But when such a fuss is made, when there's a whole industry around it, when there's a whole set of ridiculous protocols that are attached to it, I mean, it's like the whole thing about the choosing of the new pope. They all shut themselves into the
conclave.
The conclave, that's it. And then they burn a load of chemicals to produce either black smoke or white smoke. They literally use a mixture of chemicals to do that.
Why do they use a mixture of chemicals?
Because they do. There's like a list of things they use
I
to
didn't
make
think they used to. I
black
thought it used to
smoke.
be natural. Oh, right. Not anymore.
It is a load of like stuff. And then the white smoke is another load of chemicals. I mean, just come out of the room and say, we've chosen a new pope. It's fine. There's no need to send poisonous chemicals into the atmosphere to do it.
But there'll be an awful lot of sort of, negotiation and backstabbing going on between all of the cardinals and things and their entourages over the coming days.
Well, look, don't start me on the Catholic Church. I'm sorry, I do apologise to any Catholics watching, but the Catholic Church has been responsible for an awful lot of rubbish over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the situation in Africa with HIV and AIDS. Really? So all churches are responsible for a load of old shizzle in the world over the years.
Yeah.
Organised religion, please. I bet if there is a God or a supreme being up there watching, he's probably having a right laugh, or she. Probably having a right, or they.
Yeah.
And that brings me on to another subject I want to discuss as well. The whole gender issue at the moment in the UK. The Supreme Court made this decision a couple of weeks ago. People are only their biological sex. There is no other. I have questions. I don't think this was thought out very well. And I'll tell you for why.
Tell us why, Richard.
Well, look, I want you to imagine that I am a butch lesbian. Okay?
It's not that hard.
Imagine I'm a butch lesbian and I want to go to the loo. Yeah? And I go to the women's loo and somebody challenges me and says, no, you're not a woman. And the butch lesbian says, I am. Prove it.
Yeah.
How? What's the mechanism then to prove? Do you have to get your fangita out and show people that you've not got meat and two veg, that you've got a fangita? Really? What's going to happen then?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think it's been thought out.
I think it does open up a lot of abuse. However, what the Supreme Court said, or the court said, was that that was their ruling, but it should not stop people being protected in any way for their own way of living, did it?
We'll tell that to J.K. Rowling, sitting on her super yacht with a cigar.
I don't think she's got a super yacht.
Well, she was sitting on the super yacht, celebrating the decision, smoking a cigar and a glass of champagne.
Was she?
Yes.
Wasn't that AI?
I don't think that was AI.
Okay.
It was posted on her social media.
Oh, right, I don't know. I don't follow her.
And the group of women outside the Supreme Court celebrating with champagne, half of them look like men, frankly.
I think this is,
I think it's appalling, and I think it's a backward step, and I think it is just not right.
I do know someone who's intersex. So they're biologically female with male chromosomes. So they're physically female, but chemically and biologically male. So where does that person...
Well, there are lots of levels of sex in the body. There
No,
are
I know,
different
yeah,
types
yeah.
of cells that determine sex. There's a whole. I mean, I
think
what
if
I-
you're so het up about the way somebody else leads their lives, you should really look at the way you lead your life, because the problem is most probably you rather than them.
But this whole thing has been brought about because supposedly men are dressing up as women and assaulting women in women-only spaces.
Where?
But really? Really?
Yeah, these are the sort of fake news items that are brought out
Just
very
ridiculous, the whole situation. People should be allowed to lead their lives as they see fit with the correct support. You know, the other thing that was brought to my attention, which was just ridiculous, was Gwyneth Paltrow, who has built an industry on these diets that she comes up with, namely the paleo diet.
often. Did she come up with that?
Well, she's brought into that whole thing, hasn't she? Bought into that whole thing. So the latest thing is that she's a bit sick of that now.
Oh, she's moving on to something else to make money
No, she's
from.
moving back to pasta, bread and cheese.
All right.
Yeah. Well, what I have a problem with is this person has built an industry and made millions out of these diets and this whole food thing. And now she's saying, oh, I'm a bit sick of that now. I'm going back to pasta and bread and cheese.
Well, they're good things to go back to, aren't they? Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? It's like you've been conned
Well, I mean,
by somebody's fleeting belief in a silly diet.
well, silly. Well, yeah.
No, really.
I mean, there is so much
Really?
conning going on in this world now. It is, yeah.
Lovely, thank you so much.
Didn't she do a... No, I don't think so. I was going to say
What?
she did a tour of Italy in somebody's car once. Did we watch that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe it was somebody else. Yeah.
But just these things are so annoying.
But you've just given it airtime. You know.
I know, but it's on my mind.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
I think so. Let's move on, shall we, Paul? Yeah. So, you wanted to talk about the Great Green Barn, Paul.
Well, and
There's
for
an
our
event-
sake.
There's an event coming up
Yes.
that we're going to.
Yes.
What is it?
Can't stop carrying on.
Woohoo! Can't wait.
So that's next Friday, and it's a one-man show, and the guy plays Peter Rogers, who produced all of the Carry On films, and various of the Carry On actors as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we've got a Q&A afterwards. So that will be quite a nice evening, actually.
I'm looking forward very much. Forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting the performer as well.
Hmm. And the writer and the director, I think, are there as well. So it's going to be quite an evening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, looking forward to that. But I did, on Wednesday, with the rain coming down, I did get down to For Her Sake and the Great Green Barn. Vanessa had an eye operation on the Tuesday, so I thought it would be good for me to be there to support her and just make sure that everything was going smoothly in the shop, because Wednesday's quite a big day in the shop. We also had various people who came into the shop who happen to have a theatre company and happen to know somebody who is a carry-on actress, and it's amazing what happens in For Her Sake. All these people come in and you get chatting, and there's so many different links. So the couple who are Linchpin Theatre, they went over to the Great Green Barn to look at the Great Green Barn, because we're thinking about them having chatted to them and seeing what they're doing. They're going to come and do a performance of one of their shows there, or maybe more than one of their shows. And there was also Quintessentially Wind, which is a wind quintet. They had arrived because we're looking at doing an event with them as well. So it was quite busy. But we also saw Vanessa's sister and brother-in-law as well. We went somewhere just to have a break and a bite of lunch, and they were there as well. So that was absolutely lovely. So, yeah.
And of course, if you want to know more about the Great Green Barn, you can watch our short series all about the history of the Great Green Barn and its restoration.
Yeah.
Check it out.
It is fascinating to look at where it was when we first knew it, nigh on 30 years ago, 25, 26 years ago, something like that. Where it was 5 years ago when I became involved again, and where it is now. It's extraordinary. Though Vanessa did say to me, okay, well, now we're finishing the Great Green Barn, we need to think about the other areas of the other sheds there, because she wants arts and crafts to go into another area of land and another barn. So it's sort of like, oh, right, okay, start that process again. Yeah, so there. Planning permission and all of that.
Lovely. And I also want to mention as well my new project, which is Richard and Paul's cookery book. I don't know what it's going to be called, but I've started work on it. So this is going to be a downloadable cookery book with links to our cookery videos, and also a series of recipe cards as well, which have everything contained in one card for you to carry out the recipe. It's in its early stages. I'm doing the sort of putting together of the links and QR codes that you can scan to get the recipe, as well as designing the recipe cards and actually doing the donkey work at the moment. At this rate, it will be available in 2035.
That's interesting, because on your live last night it was going to be 2030.
I've added 5 years. So yeah, when it is available, it's going to be available in our coffee shop, or Ko-fi shop, which you can have a look online. It's already packed full of photographs, and in fact I'm going to be making available the Bluebell wood photographs as well for download. So yes, there you go. That's a new project. You heard it here first.
Well,
Lovely.
actually they didn't. They heard it here second, because on your live last night they heard it first. I mean, just being a pedant,
Well,
Yeah.
So lovely. It's time for the intellectual part of the show.
Oh, I hope it's an easy one today.
So what's the date today? Broadcast date is the 27th of April. Subaltern. Subaltern. We've read this before, I know I have. The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci, or Gramsci, I don't know how it's pronounced, who died on this day in 1937, introduced the term subaltern into political theory to refer to oppressed and marginalised groups within a particular society. The word comes from the Latin term for of inferior rank, subalternus, and was used this way from the 16th century to describe subordinate jurisdictions, professions, or groups of people, as well as junior military officers.
There we are.
And that's all we're saying on that subject. Which leads us to the final segment of the show, which is what have we watched on television this week? So we're rewatching Jam and Jerusalem on That's TV. This is the Jennifer Saunders written series. When did it come out?
Is it Jennifer Saunders written? I thought it was Joanna Lumley written.
Joanna Lumley's not a writer, Paul.
Right, okay, I thought it...
Jennifer Saunders is the writer.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
From when? When was it first broadcast? Early 2000s?
Yeah, wasn't it like 2003 or 2004 or something?
We were here.
Yeah, we were. So after 2003, definitely. Yeah.
Maybe it was a little later than that.
Maybe. It's about 20 years old.
So this is about Women's Institute, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's the Women's Institute.
In a little
village.
southern village. And it's rather charming. We always enjoyed it the first time round. And we were enjoying it the second time round.
Yeah.
It's good fun.
If the Women's Institute has been around for decades, virtually a century, I think, and it is it's basically a way of women getting together in groups and doing good for themselves and good for the community. And it's called Jam and Jerusalem because the Women's Institute is very much known for sort of singing certain songs, and it's sort of title song, and also making jam. So the phrase is that the Women's Institute isn't all jam and Jerusalem. It does lots of other things too. And I think they have, I know Vanessa has given various talks at Women's Institutes in Surrey about For Earth's Sake, and I think in some places they have a sort of younger generation and a sort of older generation as well. It's interesting. Yeah, fascinating. Yeah. Do have a read of it on the internet. Yeah, on Google.
We watched a Carry On film.
We did.
We watched Carry On Behind.
Yeah.
Which we thoroughly enjoyed, although it was slightly cut in places.
It was. It's. All of them are a bit saucy, but this one was a bit too saucy for 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah, bits were cut, and if you know them, then you know when they've been cut. Yeah, it didn't have a lot of the big names in it. Didn't have a lot of the big names. Yeah, Barbara Windsor, Doodah, Sid James, Hattie Jakes.
No, true, but it still had Joan Sims, Kenneth Williams.
Didn't have Charles
Bernard
Daltrey.
Bresslaw.
So a lot. It's going to be interesting to see the Carry On show later this week, because there were various sort of fallings in and fallings out of producers and actors demanding more money and not getting it, and therefore being cut out of a film, the next film type of thing. So
they were always done on the cheap, weren't they?
They were.
And Carry On Behind is set in a caravan site.
Yeah.
And basically it's shot in what looks like the depths of winter.
Yeah. There's no leaves on the trees.
No, there isn't.
And it's supposed to be like, spring or summer holiday event.
And they all look very cold.
And it was it was filmed just off the parking lot at the film studios.
In Pinewood.
Pinewood parking lot. Yeah.
So
and many of them are. There's sort of insides of buildings are actually the buildings that were at Pinewood, and the restaurant at Pinewood, and some of the Pinewood old studios front door is used as the front door of hospitals and things like that. So yeah, it was really done on the cheap.
Yeah. My highlight of the week was Alice in Wonderland, which was the 1966 black and white BBC TV film directed by Jonathan Miller.
I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it, simply because it was so different and it was very of its time. Strange angles, strange performances, just a nice sort of strangeness about it. Clearly, firmly in the 1960s, at that time of psychedelia.
Yeah.
Interesting that it wasn't shot in colour.
Yeah.
But a lot of things weren't
at that time.
They were still being shot in black and white, but very dramatic. The lighting was very interesting. The performance of Alice was very disconnected, very distant, almost wooden. Just a really interesting watch and some interesting performances. So yeah,
And interesting music as well.
by Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, so this quintessentially English piece had music by Ravi Shankar, which was really quite fabulous. Yeah.
So yeah, really interesting watch. I think it's available on YouTube to watch.
Well, having been on, it was on BBC Radio 4, BBC 4, not radio, BBC 4, so that will be on iPlayer, I assume, as
No,
well.
it wasn't BBC 4. It was Talking Pictures.
Was it Talking Pictures? Oh yeah, Talking Pictures, yeah.
So it's not available on the iPlayer.
Not available.
Well, it might be. I don't know. Not looked. We continue with The Good Life. Which episode was it?
It was the pigs one, where they get a couple of pigs and next door doesn't like it.
Well, naturally.
Yeah.
We also caught A Secret Genius of the Modern World, is it?
Secret Junior, yeah, Modern Life or something.
Modern Life. It was all about doorbells.
Yeah.
The history of the doorbell, right up to the current modern doorbells with cameras, and how they're made.
Yeah.
So that
And
was quite fascinating.
it's interesting because there are some things where, I mean, we don't have one of those, but there are. I didn't know how the depth of vision was actually created. It's quite interesting that everything is in focus, which of course with a normal camera not everything is in focus, but with the way they do this, it is. So yeah, fascinating. And how they can move from clouds can go over and it can get really dark and at night and all of that, and still you get that sort of crispness.
Yeah, I mean, modern
fascinating.
technology, incredible. Whether everybody needs a doorbell camera is another debate.
Yeah.
Really. We watched a film called Dark Encounter
Yeah.
on Prime. I fell asleep
He
towards the end.
did.
It was a little bit long, Paul.
I think you fell asleep in the middle, not towards the end.
So I don't know what happened. I don't know what the conclusion was. Yeah.
It's sort of
a little bit
around
dark.
alien abduction, dark encounter. Worth a watch, but it does twist halfway through.
Oh, I'm saddened I missed the twist.
He missed the twist.
Yeah, you continue with Bosch Legacy, or finished it.
I finished it. Yeah, really enjoyed
on
it.
Prime.
Yeah, great
and
series.
You also were watching Madame Blanc.
Yeah,
on Channel 5.
Channel 5. Madame Blanc. So I think the series is finished for this year. It's been recommissioned yet again.
God knows why.
I did feel, as I've said before, that some of those performances in the early part were phoned in by the actors, but the last episode sort of, it knitted quite well. The characters, it felt as though they were all on form for that last episode.
Good.
Of course, one doesn't know when they're filmed. You know, they're obviously, very often things like that are filmed in segments rather than episode by episode. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. And that's it. That's it for this week. Just a short one. Just a short one, because we got stuff to do.
Yeah.
We
It does seem a busy time at the moment.
Stuff
it really
to do.
does.
Easter eggs to eat.
Oh yes, that egg that we got, the chocolates inside, are amazing. Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, that's it. Time to say goodbye now, Paul.
I'm going to make soup now in
Oh,
the
how
instant
lovely.
pot. Carrot and lentil.
Oh, there's a recipe.
There is a recipe.
There is. So thank you for watching. Take care. Toodle pip, au revoir.
Bye.
Bye.
Bananas.
Tits and bums.